As Spurs continue to drop points every week in the Premier League, the possibility of them going down this season starts to feel more and more real. It felt like they had finally gotten their first Premier League win of the year on Saturday, but a 95th minute goal from Georginio Rutter salvaged a point for Brighton and kept Spurs in the relegation zone. Now, with 5 games left in the season, it has started to go from a joke to a possible reality. Especially because most of those remaining games aren't easy. Spurs still have to travel to Aston Villa and Chelsea and then host Everton on the last day of the season. It's hard to see Tottenham winning every one of those games, so the worst might still happen. If it does, it's going to have a really huge effect on the club itself and its players, of course, but also on other players, rival teams and the Premier League as a whole. How so? You'll find out in this video today. This is what happens if Spurs really do get relegated.
Hey Goal 90 family, what's good? The World Cup season is here and you already know the vibes on this channel. So for everyone who's been rocking with us, Goal 90 Shop has World Cup jerseys for the whole squad. Men, women and kids. Whatever country you're repping, we've got ya. Home kits, away kits, clean classics and the loud ones. Instant match day energy. And it's love from us. Free shipping worldwide. Grab yours now and let's run this tournament together.
If they go down, the most obvious thing that will happen is that they will lose most of their players. Spurs have top players all around the pitch, which is why it is extra surprising that they're where they are right now. If they go down to the Championship, you can rest assured that guys like Christian Romero, Mickey van der Ven, Xavi Simons, James Maddison, Dejan Kulusevski, Mohamed Kudus, Dominic Solanke, Conor Gallagher, Pedro Porro, Rodrigo Bentancur, all these guys surely leave the club. It is going to be something of a mass exodus, and that has a potential of crippling the club. And of course, it goes without saying that they will not be able to attract top players anymore while playing in the second division. And what makes this situation a whole lot worse is that Spurs will be selling these players way below their actual market value, so they're losing on all fronts. If they go down, they will be forced to sell players for different reasons. Firstly, the players themselves surely won't want to play in the second division, but more importantly, the club would not even be able to afford to keep all of them. And that leads us to our next point. The financial hit the club will take if they do get relegated would be monumental. Almost all their sources of income are certain to be affected. Stadium attendance will very likely dwindle due to the fans being hugely disappointed, but also because of a lack of heavyweight clashes in the second tier to attract people to the stadiums. This means that matchday revenue could be halved. In fact, the prices of the tickets will have to be reduced once the club is no longer competing in the top division. Add a reduction in ticket prices to a fall in demand for those tickets, and simple economics tells us that the club's revenue will be terribly shaken up. But that's not all. Being in the Championship also affects the club's marketability and thus their commercial revenue. Obviously, much less people watch the lower divisions compared to the Premier League, which means that the value their sponsors get from partnering with them will be reduced, and that might force those sponsors to pull out or, at best, renegotiate the terms of agreement, leading to the club receiving much less funds. But the biggest financial hit they'll take is in broadcasting rights. The major source of income for Premier League clubs is broadcasting rights through domestic and international TV deals, which guarantees a club of Tottenham's status hundreds of millions of pounds per season. But the moment they leave the Premier League, they lose all that, and it could be so damning. It's one of the reasons we say that they would have to sell a lot of their players and cut down wages of the rest who stay. Again, it is simple economics. Once the revenue drops, the business must also cut costs in order to stay afloat. But an even bigger fear is that this could just be the beginning of the end of the club. They finished just one place above the relegation zone last season, but managed to salvage their season with success in the Europa League. This season they find themselves in an even worse position, but without a trophy parade to paper over the cracks. It feels like something really sinister is brewing, and it could get really ugly if they do get relegated. And you can look at Leicester City right now as sort of a cautionary tale. They won the Premier League in 2016 and managed to stay at the top end of the Premier League table for a few years after, even winning the FA Cup and Community Shield in 2021. But everything changed so quickly and they got relegated from the top flight in 2022. They bounced back up in 2023, but they went right back down the very next year, and things have just not been the same since. Right now, Leicester City find themselves second from bottom in the Championship, and right now, there's a real chance that they'll be competing in the third division of English football next season. This is a team that was crowned Premier League champions just a decade ago and won a major trophy as recently as 5 years ago. But right now, they face possible relegation to the third tier. That's how quickly everything can crumble after that first relegation, and it could really be Tottenham's reality if they are not very careful. But like we said at the beginning of this video, if Spurs do get relegated, it's not going to affect them alone. Everybody's going to feel it one way or another. How though? We'll talk about that in a second, but if you aren't yet subscribed to the channel, go do that right away so you never miss out on our amazing content. Done? Okay, back to the video. You see, a Spurs relegation means instant death to the Premier League Big Six. For years, Arsenal, City, United, Chelsea, Liverpool and Spurs have been classed as the league's Big Six, and it's a term that has been used to market the Premier League product. But if one of those guys leave the Premier League, the band surely has to be broken up, and probably for good. And yes, we also said that rival players could be affected, and that's true as we're talking about those who are looking to move to that side of North London. Players like Marco Senesi and Andy Robertson have been linked with a move to Spurs, and reports say that discussions have already started. Those players may have dreamed of living and playing in London, and Spurs would have offered them that chance, but if they cannot stay up, then it forces those players to explore other options, and the Premier League themselves are not left out of this. You might argue that it is good for the reputation of the league, where even a big name can get relegated because of the quality of the league, but as a business, the Premier League will be hugely affected by this too. A Spurs relegation means that the league loses a big and very marketable franchise, which means that their pocket will be affected. Spurs are one of the most watched clubs in the league, so if you take them out, you're also taking millions of viewers away from the Premier League. Top fixtures like the North London Derby, Spurs versus City, or frankly, Spurs against any of the other Big Six teams bring in millions of viewers and millions of pounds every season. If you take all of that out, the Premier League is certain to make a major loss. Even rival clubs will be affected. For example, Arsenal makes a truckload of money from hosting one of the biggest games in Europe every season in the North London Derby. A Spurs relegation means that we can no longer get that fixture in the Premier League, and that's one major source of revenue for Arsenal gone. So make no mistake about it, if Spurs really do end up going down, it is certainly going to have a seismic effect on almost everyone and everything, but of course the biggest effect will be felt by the club itself. The management will likely have to be changed, investors will be lost, and sadly a lot of workers at the club will likely also have to be laid off. It is for these reasons that Spurs must try extra hard to avoid relegation this season. Fans don't seem to grasp the full scope of how destructive relegation can be to a club of Tottenham's size, but they surely won't like to find out. Anyway, we now want to hear from you guys. What do you think will be Tottenham's fate come the end of May? Will they be relegated to the Championship, or do they have just enough firepower to survive the drop? If they do get relegated, are there more ways in which they or other parties could be affected? Tell us what you think in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Also turn on the bell notification so you never miss out on new content. Catch you in the next one. Bye!